Welcome in the latest episode of That SEC Podcast, brought to you by Twisted Tea. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What's up, yo Tennessee Homer?
Hey, babe, what's going on?
Oh, we were just laughing, Shane. It only took about 6 tries, but I think I landed that Twisted Tea ad there, didn't I?
Oh, you're getting it, Mike. You know, I figured, hey, this is what we're doing, right? It takes a couple of weeks. We got fall camp going on right now. We, too, are working on it, Mike. But come September 1st, brother, or actually August 26th, this thing will be rolling.
Yeah, we haven't had advertisers in 3 months, so we kind of forgot how to do these, but apologies for that.
Don't know what to do with your hands, you know. I drink a Twisted Tea. You know, it's crazy. It's like, out of all the sponsorships, that's the one my kid is the most excited about. You know, she's like, she's texting her friends and stuff. I'm like, what the hell do you know about Twisted Tea? You know, it's like, and then of course I tried it. It's pretty damn good. So if you get a chance, try some.
Yeah. Well, buddy, on this episode, going to do things just a little bit differently. The coach comments a little lacking today. We'll get back to all that probably on just the next episode, but we love to hit on all 14 SEC teams, and we're going to be able to do it here, Shane, in just a moment here. I know we have talked at length about over-under win totals, but we're going to do it for one final time because once the season kicks off, you can no longer bet on these. They have no more value, but yeah. I think people already have caught on, Shane. We are the optimistic show. We try to sing the praises of all these teams, at least until the season actually gets here. Then we'll tear into the ones that are doing poorly. But we're not going to focus on the under. We're focusing on our confidence level that each team can go over their current over-under win total based on what we're seeing in camps, these clips we're hearing, and just the end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. Does that all make sense, brother?
Yeah, I love gambling. This is one of my favorite bets, too, because, you know, especially if you pick one of those low numbers, it's like as soon as you hit it, then you're just in the money. But, you know, this is the time. If you're optimistic, if you're reading these new news clippings and you're thinking your team's got something that nobody knows about and you're going to exceed expectations, this is the time to put the money on it. So I'm not a good gambler, Mike. Everybody that listens to this show knows that. But one thing I have been hitting on are these home run that's what I think this is. These are the home run hits. It's the start of the season. So I'm pumped up about this one. I got excited thinking about it. I'm like, where are you going to get 4 losses on this team? You know, that's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to get to that in just a second, Shay, but we got a couple of news items real quick here. I don't know if you caught this, Shane, but, you know, we're not huge on realignment, obviously, even though we said we're not going to talk about it. We talked about it for 10 minutes the other day. But Greg Sankey, of course, the SEC commissioner, was on Paul Feinbaum's show on Tuesday to kind of, you know, he is the voice of the SEC. Yeah. And here's what he had to say, because he was asked about it, Shane. The SEC, that's who he's talking about, we're in an enormously healthy place. We're not in the middle of the current movement efforts, so not looking to expand. And here's the money quote, Shane. I thought this was fantastic because this is just nothing but poking fun at the Big Ten. We don't need to be in 4 time zones to generate interest, says Greg Sankey. So, I mean, he's exactly right. This is what we've been saying. They added 2, and they added the 2 best you could possibly add. They fit in so many ways. Outstanding fans there, and Texas fans and Oklahoma fans, 2 of the top 10 programs of all time historically, and coming into the SEC, that they feel right at home to me.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And I think before all the movement, it's like if you could handpick 2 teams that you would want in your conference, it almost sounds too good to be true. These are the 2 that you want, Texas and Oklahoma. We are good. I think the only other ones that are floating around are in an ironclad contract that we ain't got to deal with for another 10 years. So I think that's also a pivotal piece. Yeah, we may revisit this here in about 6-7 years when it gets a little bit closer to that ACC schedule getting released. But Until then, I think the SEC is perfect. Oh my God, Mike!
Remember, this is just a backup.
Oh, okay. You got a red dot before we get going here.
Yeah,
for the
red
listeners,
dot.
Mike always backup records this, and it just started recording. I'm like, oh shit, he forgot again. So I looked up. I've got a red dot. Everything's good here. So don't scare me like that.
Well, one other thing, Shane, I know you're going to love this news. I already shared it with you, but I just want the entire audience to be aware. According to On3, EA Sports has confirmed we're good to go this time next year, next summer. The return of the NCAA video game is out. So that is terrific news, another reason to be excited about 2024. But just real quick, Shane, I was curious to get your thoughts. I mean, I know you're going to, as soon as you pick up that game and throw it in there, you're going to play with Tennessee. But aside from Tennessee, take off your Vol hat for a minute. Any teams that you're dying to play with, any players you're dying to get there in the NCAA video game and just see what those digital heroes can do?
Mike, I don't know if you knew this, but Tennessee Vols won a national championship in 1998. Since then, they have not been back. That's where they need to go. So if they don't do it this year, Mike, by God, they're going to do it in the video game as soon as I get my hands on it. And I hope they got running through the tee. They didn't have it on the last one. So, Mike, that's the first thing, obviously. But you know how this is, brother. You know how we like to do this. And I'm sure there's going to be conference realignments and stuff. But me and you, we like to take these teams that nobody cares about and then build them into a juggernaut and then get introduced into the SEC. So we'll expand the SEC once again. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to it. But, you know, going to a national championship with the Vols, you ask, who am I looking forward to? Well, I've got Nico sitting right there, and he's ready to be a Heisman candidate, baby.
I'm honestly surprised, Shay, you didn't go with Judkins, because that's a guy that
well, I'm afraid he won't be there.
Well, that's a fair point, but can't wait to play with him. I think Texas A&M, remember that vaunted freshman class? They're sophomores this year. They'll be juniors next season. We'll have to see what they do on the field, but I imagine they're going to be a popular pick on that game as well.
Florida Gators, if they land all these recruits that they got right now, you're sitting in a state of Florida. I mean, when I played NCAA, 48 years ago, the things that you wanted to do was lock down a Florida, lock down a Texas, somewhere where you can find some recruits. Florida's going to be a fun one just because they've already got a lot of young talent coming in, but they are sitting there in the old Sunshine State.
Yeah, and don't forget, Shane, Texas and Oklahoma. I think those will be two popular ones. Will be in the SEC. I did see someone. I hope they weren't talking about Texas and Oklahoma, Shane, but I did see someone say, as soon as I get the game, I'm switching all the teams back to the conferences they belong in.
That's awesome.
All right, one last thing before we get to these over-under, Shane, just a little heads up here. This was kind of the biggest news in the SEC that's going to affect the entire conference potentially this fall. Great news for them Auburn Tigers, because star running back Jarquez Hunter back on the practice field.
It's huge.
Sounds like he may still be suspended for the regular season, but that's just speculation. That's not been confirmed. And if he is suspended, Shane, it's going to be against, New Mexico State and UMass.
Like one game or how many games you thinking?
I mean, I honestly have no idea, but I have seen many people suggest that could be in line for him, but we may need him week 2 against Cal. So I think he'll be in the lineup week 2 if I have to.
Yeah.
We're a 40-point favorite in the opener. Let him sit out the opener if that's even necessary. I don't know, but the fact that he was not on the practice field the first couple days, and Hugh Freeze has yet to comment on this, but he will probably today or tomorrow. So just a heads up, Jarquez Hunter. And the reason that's so big, Shane, because Auburn, the position they're in, obviously, they can't afford to lose a guy like him.
Yeah.
And just be competitive in the SEC. Because we're just not where we want to be at overall talent, overall depth. So you could say that for a lot of teams in this conference, but it's particularly true right now of Auburn.
Yeah. Well, I also think it helps in camp, brother. I mean, we're talking about one of the best running backs in the country here.
Yeah.
That's going to make that if I'm let's say second running back, and I'm out here and I'm doing my job, but then I come out here and I see an alpha dog, taking some of these snaps. I may have thought I was there and then realize I got some work to do. If you're a linebacker that's been tackling some of these guys, then all of a sudden this big ass bastard comes through and knocks the shit out of you. You're gonna be like, all right, I got some work to do, because there's other running backs like this in the league. So I think it vaunts that depth chart. I think it helps in practice. So I'm just glad to see him in pads. I know them fans are pumped up, because you're going to need everything to win some games this year. This is definitely the tool you got to have.
Yeah, and one other real quick, Shane, great news for Auburn too. I mean, everything's turning up Auburn. I don't know if you saw this, but
did he steal some more? Oh, shit, he did? Did he?
No.
Oh.
You had my mind going somewhere else when you said that.
No,
but
come on back here, Mike.
No. Toomer's Corner, Shane, with the oak trees.
No.
Officially, they can be rolled once again. And, this is going back to, obviously, Harvey Updike and poisoning the trees and all that. They announced these trees they planted in 2017. They haven't been able to roll them in the last couple of years, Shane, because they're letting these trees grow. But we're back, baby. One of the best traditions in all of college football, returning to the SEC. So just a great day overall to be an Auburn fan with Hugh Freeze down there. They're going to get some big wins in the near future, and those fans deserve to celebrate on Toomer's Corner.
Oh, good, man. That's awesome. That's, again, tradition.
Yeah.
We're getting all this realignment. We're moving from tradition. No, not in Auburn, baby. We're bringing it back.
All right, buddy. So you ready to talk some over-unders?
Gambling? Yeah.
And again, Shane, so just to be clear, so everybody gets, these over-under win totals, regular season only.
Yep.
Does not count an SEC championship game, does not count bowl games and playoff games. So just the 12 regular season games, over, under, win total. And before we start weighing in on this, Shane, let's run down real quick. These are the current up-to-date win totals for all 14 SEC teams, starting with Alabama. The over-under is 10.5. At Arkansas, the over-under is 6.5. Same as Auburn, 6.5. Florida, 5.5. Georgia, 11.5. Kentucky, 6.5. Missouri, 6.5. Ole Miss, 7.5. Mississippi State, 6.5. South Carolina, 6.5. Tennessee, 9.5. A&M, 7.5. Vanderbilt, 3.5, and I think I skipped LSU. LSU's 9.5. I got these all mixed up, so I apologize. I think I got them all there.
Yeah. Well, I tuned out here about 30 seconds ago. A lot of numbers. We'll do them individually, and so again, we're ranking this on what we think, I guess, level of confidence. So least
Correct.
Confidence that they're going to go over to most confident. Is that the route you're taking, or are you going right from the top to the bottom?
Well, I've got my 1 through 14, Shane, so however you want to do it, I'll leave that part up to you. Do you want to start at the bottom, or do you want to start at the top?
Yeah, let's do the bottom, because I think that was a little bit tougher. I don't know about you, Mike, but I really struggled with maybe like the bottom 5 here. I do think that a lot of these teams will be over, but I just wasn't as confident. So, let's start from the bottom and then work our way up.
All right. You want me to go first or you?
Are we going to do all of them, or are we going to do one at a time?
You do one, and then I'll do one. We'll just keep going back and forth like that.
All right. So with the 14th selection of the over and unders, the one that I'm least confident about, Mike, and I hate it because I love this fan base. I love a lot of these players. I just absolutely hate their schedule. So number 14, I'm going South Carolina at 6.5. I feel like, brother.
You know what that is? He's still smarting from that beatdown the Gamecocks gave the Vols.
I don't know what made me want to do it. Right? It's not personal. I tell you what, I got to talk to Rattler, and I love the culture they're created down there. I do think South Carolina has some games. I think that I still think they're gonna be over. I truly do. We've talked about our optimistic South Carolina, but there's some landmines out there, man. And some of these games that they're gonna need to win are not in Columbia. You know what I'm saying? For started right out of the gate, you got UNC, not in Columbia. You got that Tennessee game, not in Columbia. So there's some 50-50 games.
Georgia in Athens, week 3.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you end with Clemson. This is a tough schedule. And we say that every year with South Carolina, and typically they do overachieve. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen this year, but we're talking money. And I'm saying 6.5. That I'm the least confident, Mike. So final answer, I'm going South Carolina number 14.
Yeah, and I threw up the schedule here, Shane. So, I mean, look at it this way. And I'm not saying they're going to lose all these games, but it is going to be difficult. At Georgia, you just referenced, at Tennessee, at Missouri, which they just can't beat. Right. At Texas A&M, they've beaten them one time in the history of them facing each other in the SEC. And you reference that Clemson game. Now, again, I'm not saying they're losing all those guaranteed, because they'll surprise you. But if they do drop those, Shane, they got to win every single other game to hit the over. So this is before Florida, which whooped you last year. This is before, Kentucky, who we think will be a significantly more improved. Mississippi State, we don't know what we're getting out of them. UNC right in the opener. I mean, there are some tough games. You basically got to pull an upset or two to guarantee going over.
Which they've done. They did last year. They could do it this year. Yeah. This is where Rattler wants to be. I know it sounds crazy, but they're soaking it up, man. South Carolina is soaking up, dumbasses like me saying that there's no shot to make a college football playoff. There's no shot you're going to repeat what you did last year. That's what they got a roster full of kids that don't care what we think. And that being said, they may walk away at the end of this year with 10 wins, and then, this is clipped up and I look dumb, But I just, at this point, Mike, I just think the hype got a little too crazy toward the tail end of the last season. Not saying it didn't finish great, but you also lost a lot of pieces. There's some question marks in pivotal spots, mainly up front with the offensive defensive line. That's what you need in the SEC, and that's where they're going to struggle a little bit.
Well, Shane, I think you're really going to like my number 14. I'm going Alabama, 10.5. And some of this has to do with the number being so high. I mean, they have to go 11-1 or 12-0. Again, this is just regular season. They'll probably get to 11 by the bowl game. That's almost a guarantee. But we're just looking at regular season, and I think another 10-2. Maybe even 9-3. We'll see how far they progress. But I got the least confidence right now in Alabama hitting the over, even though everybody's hyping them up. Number 3 in the coaches poll. Shane's got them going undefeated, winning a national championship. Give me the under. Well, I'm not saying under. I'm saying least confident to hit that over.
Do you got their schedule? You got their schedule pulled up?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, because you're looking for 3 losses, Mike, is what you're saying.
2. Now, I'm just looking at 2, because the number's 10.5. So they have to go 11-1 to hit the over.
Damn, I may have messed up on this one. I had them a little higher because I thought they needed 2, but I didn't see. You're right, 10.5. That's a doozy.
Right. So Texas week 2, that's tough, but it is at home.
Yeah.
At A&M. That's one everybody's got circled as a possible upset. I don't even know if it would be an upset. A&M plays them so well. Tennessee at home, LSU at home, at Kentucky, at Auburn. I think there's 2 losses in there. And we have just completely overlooked Ole Miss and Arkansas, and there's other tricky games on there.
Yeah, you may be right, Mike. You may be right, but I do have them a little higher. Even when I do realize I messed up, I still going to have them, because again, you're saying, okay, they're going to lose to LSU, or they're going to lose to to Tennessee. They're going to lose to Texas A&M. Yeah, I think they lose to one of them, but two of them? I don't know. Fool me once, shame on me. Even last year, it came down to the last second on two of those losses. So, no, I'm sticking with it, Mike. They're going undefeated, whatever. They don't have to go undefeated, but I do think that this team is going to be better than people think. And I don't think they lose two games.
All right, who's your number 13 most confident team to hit the over?
Same state, different uniform. Give me them Auburn Tigers. Your favorite. I know, Mike. I know. A lot of people look at new coaches and they think about Brian Kelly and they think about all these Cinderella seasons and all this magic that happens every now and then. But more likely than not, you're going to struggle your first year. And that's my problem with Auburn here. I do think that they were very aggressive in the transfer portal. I think they got a lot of pieces on that field, but I do still think that it's just a hodgepodge of stuff. We don't know exactly how it's going to work together. Now, do I think it comes together maybe toward the tail end of the season? Absolutely. Do I think Hugh Freeze pulls off a couple of signature wins? Absolutely. That's what you brought him in there for. He's got a track record for that. But you're saying, 7? Got to have 7 wins right out of the gate with a team that looked god-awful at times last year. We still don't know who the quarterback is, even though everybody's kind of crown thorn. No, I think there's too many question marks. They're going to have a good season. I think it's a launching pad for what's coming in the future, but I don't see 7 wins right now.
Well, and Shane, you kind of hinted at this, but you didn't outright say it. One of the toughest schedules in the country, too. Add that to the mix,
Absolutely. Georgia, Alabama, you get them every year,
At
LSU, yeah.
At Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, on and on. At A&M. When we're saying at A&M is maybe the 7th most difficult game, that's when you know it's a damn tough schedule.
Who's their other East opponent?
Well, the good news for them, it's Vanderbilt. So they should get that one. But again,
there's your one.
Hughes lost to Vanderbilt as many times as he's beaten Alabama. That's something people don't talk about.
Who do you got, 13?
You're not going to like it, brother.
Oh, man. Is this pod over already?
Tennessee at 9.5. And this is not me doubting, Heupel and the Vols or anything, Shane, because I get caught up in it just like everybody else. But when we're hitting the over-unders here, so we're saying 10-2.
Yeah.
That's very difficult when you got Bama and Georgia on the schedule, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, beat Bama last year. This year at Bama, get Georgia at home. But still, you're going to be underdogs in those two. So if they lose, there's no guarantees they're going to lose both of them. But if they do, they just can't lose another game. And what are the odds that happens? I'm not convinced of it.
Yeah.
Now, could they go 11-1? I think they could, but I kind of lean more towards 9-3. I think that's a realistic outcome, and I think Josh Heupel, not that he would be happy with a 10-win season counting the bowl game. I think he would take that, but again, I realize the expectations. They're trying to reach the championship, so that's not the goal. But I don't think that would stun me if we're sitting here with a 10-win season at the end of the year with a bowl win.
Yeah, I'm huge. You know me. I'm huge, but I am also a huge Vol fan. And Mike, I'm telling you right now, I too am trying to tamper down a little bit on those expectations. I got them sitting at the 10 spot.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. You're looking at Georgia and Alabama. I think those are obviously, if anybody looks at the schedule, they're thinking those are the 2 toughest games. And I just don't know. I don't see how you beat Georgia. Did we beat Alabama last year? Yes. Can we beat them this year? Yeah, I think it could happen. Mm-hmm. But to put a mortgage payment on it, I'm not willing to do that just yet. Right. Not with a new quarterback and a lot of new pieces floating around on that roster. So Texas A&M, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida. I mean, Mizzou, on and on and on. Do they find another loss somewhere in there? Yeah, I think it could easily happen. So I'm with you, Mike. I'd love to say this is going to be an undefeated season and we're going to a college football playoff. But realistically, I think that that Tennessee's they're going to be right there at that 9-10 game win at the end of the season.
Right, and the key to me kind of leaning towards the under, Shane. Again, not saying that it's a lock or anything, but it's just so hard to win in this conference on the road. And the fact that, we both have said many times we think Tennessee will be better than Florida, better than Kentucky, better than Missouri. But all three of those are on the road, and you cannot convince me that one of those three maybe plays the best game they played all season and beats Tennessee. I'm not predicting it, but that would not surprise me at all.
Right, man. I mean, even last year, I don't think Pitt was as good as we made them out to be. That game should not have been close, but again, Tennessee didn't play Tennessee ball until at the end. So I think that's the type of season we're going to have this year. And again, we're usually wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they just blow the over out real big. But again, this one right here, I'm just kind of a little bit more reserved with my money with the Volunteers.
All right, how about number 12? Who you got in that spot, Shane?
Number 12. Oh, you ain't going to like this one, Mike. You get me with Tennessee, well, I'm going to get you back with them LSU Tigers. People ask me, Shane, why you hate LSU? I don't hate LSU, but 10 wins? You got a tough schedule, too. I mean, we can say that about every SEC team on this thing, But again, are we convinced that LSU has arrived, or that they had a couple breaks go their way this last season and that they are slowly moving to that spot where they're competing for national championships? I think last year was an exception to the rule, Mike. I think they exceeded everybody's expectations down there in Baton Rouge, but can they just build off that? Absolutely. I think there's a real shot, Mike, that LSU has the same record. What did they finish last year? Was it? It was 9-3, right?
9-4 after, I think, right?
Well, yeah. So again, I think there's a shot that they match that, but have a better team this year. So I'm just not willing to put my money on 10 wins.
Right. Oh, and it was actually 10-4 because they played it obviously in the championship, SEC championship. So still a hell of a year. But yeah, Shane, even I'm on a ledge out here saying LSU is going to win the national championship. I don't even think they'll go undefeated because it's that much of a gauntlet. So it's not that. There's Brian Kelly.
He's like, what the
hell? It's not that big of a leap to say, again, I'm not with you, but it's not that big of a leap to say 9-3, considering they play Florida State, they play at Bama, at Ole Miss, at Missouri, at Mississippi State. We haven't even got to the day of Florida at home, A&M at home, Auburn at home, Arkansas at home. I mean, these are losable games for anybody. So I get that. You're completely wrong, but I get it.
Where'd you have them? Where'd you have LSU at?
Oh, we'll get there. But right now,
okay.
I'm right there with you with South Carolina. That's my number 12 team. And we've kind of already went into it, but they're going to have to exceed expectations, something they've done every year under Shane Beamer. So they'll probably exceed expectations once again. But I really think it's going to take stealing a game or two for them to hit that over. Probably just one, but that's the beautiful thing of the black magic down there in Columbia, Shane. You don't see it coming. That doesn't mean it's not coming. You know what?
Absolutely, man. I think South Carolina – These fans especially, they feel like they got something special, and they probably do, Mike. We're probably way off on this one, and we're looking back saying, look at us idiots. But I don't know, man. There's so many moving pieces. I love the culture. It gets thrown around quite a bit with South Carolina, but it truly is something different than some of these other programs, and that is what is going to separate them in the end. But it's a road, buddy. It's a journey that them Gamecocks and fans are on, and I just don't think they have arrived yet. I think they're building something, but they're just not quite there.
Well, Shane, and I think you just hit on something important, something we can't possibly measure, but the culture, strong culture. I realize fans were upset when you lost to Mizzou, get smoked by Florida, but it's a sign of the amazing culture they have in Columbia that after those tough performances, they bounce right back, destroy Tennessee, go on the road and beat Clemson. You cannot convince me that that's even possible in college football without outstanding culture in that building.
Well, yeah. And Spencer, if he's dialed in, brother, they could beat anybody.
Yep. All right, so who's your number 11 on this list, Shane?
Number 11, I've got them Georgia Bulldogs. And all I'm doing, Mike, is saying they may have a loss somewhere on this record. They're not going 12-0. That's the crazy part on this one. So, hey, buddy, they've won 2 national championships. They may win 3. They may do something that no one's ever done. They're building. I mean, the program is. They're going to write books about the Georgia Bulldogs here the last couple of years. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be kids. I mean, I don't know how many Athens are going to be running around here or Kirby's, but here in about 18 years, we're going to start seeing a lot more in the transfer portal, I think, So I obviously am very high on Georgia. I have them winning the SEC. I have them going to a college football playoff. But I will say this, brother. One loss. How many times have we gone into a season saying, hey, there's no way Alabama's going to lose one, and then they lose one. There's no way Georgia's going to lose one, then they lose one. So, I again, perfect seasons are so tough to do. To be flawless day in, day out. I just saying, hey, they may find a loss somewhere.
Right, and I think I heard this. I may have heard it wrong, Shane, but I believe the last team to go number 1 in the preseason and the entire season be number 1 and finish number 1. I think it was 1999 Florida State, Shane. So again, I don't want to say it's a kiss of death or anything, but both these championships Georgia won. They didn't start number 1.
Yeah.
Of course, it don't matter where you started. Obviously, it's where you finish, but it's a tough task, and the fact they've done it twice in a row.
And it's not the same roster. It's
right.
It's not the same quarterback. It's not. There's so many. It's a new team. Kirby comes out here and tries to create a new identity for this program, and it truly may have a winning program here. But we know they're going to be a winning program. But what I'm saying is, are they a perfect program? Who knows? We got to see it first. So That's all I'm saying is that they may stumble on one of these teams. They probably won't, but they could.
Well, I got the Bulldogs too, Shane, but just a different one. I got the Mississippi State Bulldogs right here with a over-under of 6.5. As you shake your head here, Shane, I'm looking at this damn gauntlet they've got to face, which, LSU's the first SEC game, week 3, then at South Carolina, then Alabama at home.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, buddy, I mean, this is not the gauntlet that any coach wants to have going into his first SEC season. And yes, you do get LSU and Bama at home, but then you turn right around, you go at Arkansas, at Auburn, before Kentucky at home and at A&M. I mean, my goodness. Who did Zach Arnett piss off in the league office to get this schedule? I don't know, but man, this is, they're trying to bring toughness. Hell, they're already tough and physical down there, but they're trying to be even more. So bring that ground game back. They're going to need it this year because the only way they're exceeding expectations is if they're just physically more dominant than some of these other teams they're facing, because it's a ugly schedule. I don't care how many home games they got.
You know what? They love it, Mike. Just keep piling on them dogs. They love it. Keep doubting them dogs. Put them in the bottom. And then what are they going to do? They're going to exceed expectations like they do every single year. So I won't tell you where they are on my list just yet, but you are way off.
Well, I have said it before, Shane. I'll say it again. The beautiful thing about this schedule, all 4 road games. I'm not saying they're going to win them all.
Yeah.
but they're all winnable. At South Carolina, at Arkansas, at Auburn, at A&M, who they have owned. I could be completely wrong. You know what?
Well, you are. But we'll continue. We'll continue, Mike. All right, remember, that's SEC Mike that hates you, not Shane.
Who you got number 10?
Number 10, I talked this one earlier. It's my Tennessee Vols. I think they're going to have a hell of a season. I think I'm on the hype train. I'm hoping I'm wrong here. I hope that we get back into a college football playoff contention, and they're right there. I mean, 10 wins is what we're talking here. 10 wins, you get the over. 10 wins, you're making noise and getting an opportunity to play in the next round. So, I think they're there. It's just, there's some tricky games out there, Volunteer fans. You know what I'm talking about. And the one that really is got my eyes is Missouri and the Texas A&M. I think the Aggies going to be special this year.
Well, Shane, I was giving you grief about Georgia. This is where I got him, number 10. So maybe this is unfair, but the way I'm viewing this, Shane, is remember Florida State when they won the national championship? They came back the next year, and it was kind of like, I think they went undefeated in the regular season, but they damn near lost like 5 games. And I think Clemson had that too once or twice after winning a national championship, I think it was with Trevor Lawrence after they won it his freshman year, his sophomore season, where sometimes you may be elite, but you play down to the level of the competition just because you're so far ahead of everybody. Yeah. I could see that happening with Georgia. Again, that may not be a perfect comparison because Kirby's got that thing rolling at another level, but at some point this has to seep in. We're damn near 20-point favorite in 11 of 12 games. I think it's just going to be hard for them to remain and have that edge all season long. And what are we really betting against here, Shane, is just one hiccup. One game where they have 4 turnovers. One game where maybe they miss 2 field goals. And it's there's just so many things that could go wrong in a game. And I'm not saying they're going to go 6-6 or anything, but I think 11-1. And probably win the East, probably win the SEC, probably win the national championship, Shane. But even the first year they won it, they lost a game. I realize it was the SEC championship, but it's just so hard to go undefeated, particularly 3 regular seasons in a row.
Yeah, it's tough. That's why I don't like betting on them, So last year was easy. This was my lock right here. I had Georgia at the top. They had, I think it was 10.5. Last year, if I'm not mistaken. So, man, I wish that was back. I'd put the mortgage on it, man. I put my whole house on it. But you're talking about undefeated. I don't know about that. I'm going to tap the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Who you got number 9, Shane?
Number 9, I got the Ole Miss Rebels sitting there at 7.5. So can they get to 8 wins, Mike? Again, this is a team that's fully capable. The concern I'm having with these guys is, same thing we're going to talk about every year, I think, with Lane Kiffin, is new faces. We've got quarterback, quote-unquote, controversy. We've got a few question marks sitting there in the backfield. The only one that you could pencil in is Junkins, and he's going to be an absolute machine, but he can't do it all. So I think the optimism is floating around that program, but it's tough for me to put my finger on how good they're really going to be. And kind of like last year. It's like last year we knew they were going to be good, but we really didn't know until 4 or 5 games in, and then we started having those lingering question marks pop up. So this one's just, I just don't know. Honestly, Mike, I will say this, brother, if Kiffin came out and gave me like Dart love, like Dart figured it out. He's their guy. Jackson is the man. He's moving on. Then I'd be like, oh yeah. This is easy. I'll put the over. But now he's like, well, let's see what we got to work with. We got 4 quarterbacks that can play. And I'm like, well, that doesn't give me, a gambler, the confidence I need to put money on them. So I think they go over, but I don't have them in the top half here.
Yeah, and much like I said with Mississippi State, Shane, Ole Miss, I mean, my goodness, the SEC slate, first SEC game at Bama. That's always a personal one. Second SEC game, LSU at home, which is one of the best teams in the country. Arkansas at home, which those are some damn battles right there, Arkansas and Ole Miss. And then,
Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, they're later, but fourth in a row at Auburn, who now they hate Ole Miss. They hate Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin hates Hugh Freeze. So, these are basically 4 straight rivalries, hated games where Ole Miss, if they play their A game, they could beat all these teams.
Yeah.
If they play their C game, they can lose all these games. So it ain't easy, brother. My number 9, Shane, we're starting to get into the same territory here. Auburn. So we kind of already hit on them, but you're right there. 6-6, I think, is a reasonable goal. 7-5. I think it's going to be right. It's a coin flip to me, whether it's 6-6, 7-5. And like you said, man, even if they do have a quarterback, what happens, God forbid, if he gets injured or just struggles in the scheme and things of that nature? So I got to lean right now, number 9, Auburn at 6.5. I'm not fully confident they can go 7-5, even though that is kind of the expectation this fall.
Mm-hmm.
So who you got number 8, Shane?
Number 8, I got them Arkansas Razorbacks. Ooh. And honestly, if you'd asked me about this list about 5 weeks ago, I'd have had them lower. But kudos to that highlight team out there because, as soon as I have a question mark about the tight end, I see a highlight from the tight end. As soon as I have a question mark about the defense, I see an awesome interception. It's like they're drawing me in. And Arkansas has all the pieces. It's just – it's some of that depth, What do they do at the tail end of the season? Because the way their schedule plays out, you're going to need them, man. You're going to need some healthy. You're going to need them to stay healthy. And I know they got the new strength and conditioning. I'm hoping that's the answer. The boys look big. I mean, they're eating good. They're working out. I saw Rocket, man. I mean, he's like 380 pounds, full solid muscle. I don't know what they're feeding him up there, but they got some dudes. And Arkansas, when you're looking at, what is it, 6.5? Can they get to over? Oh yeah, give me the over. I'm pretty This is another one. This is my hot team right now. It's moving up the list.
Right. Well, to that point, Shane, all the depth. We highlighted this in the spring because I thought it was genius, and this is just kind of the way it's got to be now with the portal. But remember, Sam Pittman came out and said, besides KJ, we ain't got any starters. I'm not naming any starters. Everybody's rotating because for fear that someone will jump in the portal. I'm even seeing that in fall camp, Shane. I mean, the deadline to transfer is passed and everything. But, he's asked about Josh Braun, the guy the lineman they brought in, starting, practice with the ones. So he's your starter. He says, we ain't got no starters. No starters. So I think he learned a valuable lesson last year, Shane. Make these guys earn everything, and not only earn it, but just, have the backups with a mindset that you're only a snap away. And maybe if the right guard's got a bad day at practice, boom, the backup, your starter today. And I think that will really help exactly what you're talking about, the tail end, the depth for this overall roster. So
physical, man. When you think Arkansas, you think of physical boys that some headhunters out there that got away from that. And then now you're starting to see the highlights. I just referenced Rocket. When he ran to that guy, it's like, that may not have happened last year in camp because they were afraid of him to get tackled,
Right.
They ain't doing that this year because that hurt them later in the season. So they're getting out there, and I think this is I think the most thing I'm excited about is this defense, an aggressive defense. Talking to coach, this is something that you could just see it. You can see when somebody's happy about something. He's in there, and he's saying, "Hey, we're not going to just let them dink and dunk underneath us anymore. We're going to bring some damn pressure," and that's what I think Arkansas has been lacking.
Now, my number 8, Shane, this is probably going to stun you, but it's some LSU Tigers, like you were saying. I realize the number is 9.5, but yeah, I mean, I'm wrong all the time. So, and even someone like me, I just said it. If they win the national championship, I don't think they do it as an undefeated team. So you could certainly talk me into, I don't know, maybe that revenge factor is real for Alabama. That's on the road. Florida State, we don't respect them, but we've been wrong before, so maybe Florida State's a true playoff team right there. We're already talking 2 losses, and then they have to go through the entire rest of the gauntlet undefeated. It's a tough task. I think they do it, Shane. But again, it's still the reason I got them middle of the road, this might be kind of confusing, but I guess I just got more confidence in some of these other teams to hit their number. We'll get to more of my list in just a second, but this is the highest number left on the board for me. That's a reason why I had Alabama so low, Tennessee, Georgia so low. These numbers are tough, hard to get. So my confidence is a little bit lower on LSU, getting to that 9 and they'd have to get to 10-2 to hit the over. So you could talk me into it, even though I like them Tigers to win it all.
I've been working on you for 6 months, and I finally got you to this point. So I feel like I've made a little progress with you here.
Well, Shane, hey, before we continue down this list, got to remind the folks we're brought to you by Game Time Sidekicks. Head on over to Game Time Stainless steel drinkware, sippy cups, tumblers, bottles. Shane, you wouldn't believe how much my dog loves this dog bowl they got over there at Game Time Sidekicks. They got every SEC team, including Texas and Oklahoma, represented at Game Time Sidekicks. So head on over, once again, GameTimeSidekicks.com. Use that promo code SEC for 20% off your entire order. And you can find a link to that in the show notes. Help the podcast. We're barely keeping the lights on over here, but you keep them on by heading over to GameTimeSidekicks.com using that promo code SEC. And the same deal, Shane, Manscaped back as an advertiser on the show. Head on over to Manscaped.com. Same promo code, Shane, SEC, for 20% off your entire order. Free international shipping. How about that, Shane, from Manscaped? Get that beard in order, Shane, with the Beard Hedger Pro, which comes with shampoo, conditioner, oil, palm, and one hell of a travel case, Shane. We'll just pitch the travel case if they want. It's such a fine product. But again, head on over to Manscaped.com, promo code SEC, 20% off your entire order, free shipping, and this can also be found in the show notes. Help the podcast stay independent forever. Take advantage of these sponsorship opportunities. All right, Shay, so who you got? Number 7. We're into the top half of the list here.
All right. This is when you start getting your wallet out because we're going to make some money. All right. Number 7, Mike. I'm going in your backyard, and I'm picking the Vanderbilt Commodores. Sitting there at 3.5, Mike. 3.5. Crazy. They may have 4 after 4 games.
Yeah.
That's I get emotional about Vanderbilt because even though I grew up hating them, you know, it's like that little brother that you have out in Hawaii. It's like, you know, you picked on him your entire life, but then he moves out there and you miss him. I'm talking to you, flying Hawaiian. You better be listening to this. But I still love you, brother. And at Vanderbilt, 3.5 is just an absolute joke. They have been what Coach Lee has been doing is building a room full of scrappers, man. Mm-hmm. And if you come ill-prepared to Vanderbilt, you're going to lose. Ask Florida. Ask Kentucky. They're going to lose if you come in there and expect to win. Don't gang prep. Don't go 100% because I guarantee you Vanderbilt will be. Find me 4 wins? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you missed the mark, though, Shane. I've got them a lot higher, so we'll tease that in a minute. But Ole Miss, that's my number 7. You reference it. Difficult schedule, so many moving pieces. And Lane Kiffin, you just never know what you're going to get out of him. And
yeah.
I don't want to say he quit on the season, but it kind of seemed like he did late in the year, the way they were playing against Arkansas, the way they were playing in the Egg Bowl, the way they were playing in the bowl game. So that is a lingering concern, particularly all the money they gave him. Is he still motivated? I don't know. But, again, I'm trying not to be pessimistic because I think Ole Miss could be a big surprise team, but there's a lot of doubts here. I love Judkins. I think he may be the most dominant overall player, short of maybe Brock Bowers. I mean, Brock Bowers, I think, is the best player in college football, but it's a little bit easier, obviously, to get a running back the ball than it is a tight end, particularly a tight end working with a new quarterback. So Judkins, Bowers, I mean, we're talking 1A, right. 1B, maybe the most physically dominant players in all the conference. So give me Ole Miss at number 7.
And I think you could put him in that Bowers, talk, especially now that he's going to be receiving. We're going to look at all-purpose yards at the end of this year, and we're going to be blown away by the stats coming out of Ole Miss. So, I mean, he's going to get some loving for sure.
Who you got number 6, Shane?
Number 6, this is Alabama Crimson Tide. You know, even though I misread this thing.
Bama Shane.
Yeah, you know me. No. I mean, for me, brother, when I'm looking at this, okay, is there a loss between Texas A&M, Vols, LSU, maybe Ole Miss? Sure. Yeah, there may be a loss in there. But is there 2 losses? I mean, right now, sitting here, can you make that bet that they lose 50% of those games? I mean, I think that's what it's going to boil down to, and I can't say yes to that. I think worst case scenario, they bet 75% on that one. So, yeah, I'm going over, and I'm pretty confident with that one.
Okay, well, cover your ears, Shane, because I hate to do it to you, but number 6 on my list. The Missouri Tigers, brother, at 6.5.
I mean, we're on this side. You know, anything past this, you're pretty confident that they're going to go over.
Right, and going over would be 7 wins, obviously, and they have not done that yet under Drink. Now, that doesn't mean they can't, doesn't mean they won't, but of the basically every team moving forward, Shane, I'm very confident, including Missouri, that will go over, but maybe Missouri's the one I got the least confident, because you could have an elite defense, Shane. You could have Luther Burden be the breakout star of the SEC. You could have a running back emerge. You could have all these great things. But if you do not have a quarterback, Shane, in this league, and I'm not saying they don't, but I don't know that they do.
Feels like it.
Well, maybe. They went into the portal, and their fans are dying to see Sam Horn. That does not sound like
I know.
People that are confident, and they get pissed off every time Brady Cook is, number 1 quarterback. But he has had some highlights for sure. We cannot dismiss him. But if they do not get better at the quarterback position, there's a real danger. I think they're 6-6 once again.
Yeah. You're wrong, right, but yeah.
Who you got number 5?
Number 5, you mentioned these boys earlier. I got Mississippi State. I really like them, and I'm going to tell you why, Mike. Because they've been shed on for so long. We saw it at SEC Media Days. Nobody's talking about them now. They just keep, they're just bottom dwellers. They're always sitting there at the bottom. They never win any football games. And then you look and you're like, wait a minute. Since 2009, Mike, take COVID year out. But since 2009, they've only had 2 6-win seasons. Every other season, they've exceeded those expectations. So you're sitting there 6.5. So you're saying, are they better or worse than some of those teams we've seen in the past? Mississippi State loves it. They thrive in it. They don't care what we say, Mike. They may even tuned off already when you started blabbering about how bad they're going to be. Mike, Mississippi State's going to have the over. They'll find ways to get wins. They always do. I believe in Will Rogers. I believe in Arnett and this defense. Obviously there's going to be some new pieces. There's going to be moving pieces. But at the end of the day, this is a program that is like your papaw, man. Just got the hard hat on, goes to work, 9 to 5, worked the same place 40 years. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're doing here, man. They're just going to work, and they're going to find their wins. So give me the over big time here on Mississippi State.
Yeah, you basically convinced me, Shane. I should have put them a lot higher on my list, but I certainly hope you're right. I cannot wait to see all these Mississippi State fans just dancing on my grave of my predictions once they start piling up the wins this fall. You know what?
Yes.
All right, number 5 for me, Shane. I got them Arkansas Razorbacks, and hey, I think 8 wins, very doable this year. With KJ and Rocket back and the additions on the transfer portal, get tougher on the line of scrimmage. If we upgrade at offensive and defensive coordinator, 8 wins, maybe even 9 is in the cards for them Arkansas Razorbacks. But I just threw out a lot of ifs and buts, and this has got to go and that's got to go. It's a difficult road in the West. Thankfully, this year, the non-conference, all 4 games, very, very winnable. So you only got to, get 3 SEC wins and you're there. That's why they're in the top 5 of my list here. So who's your top 4, Shane?
Number 4, I got the Florida Gators, Mike.
Ooh.
And I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing. I have nothing. No stats, no predict. It's nothing. This is pure gut. This is pure Florida can't suck that bad kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it's just the years of successful programs that they've brought through Gainesville. I'm just saying, enough's enough, man. I'm looking at some of these highlight videos. I'm like, yeah, they got some dudes. They got some of the best running backs. But more importantly, can they make a bowl game? How can you start the start of the season and say the Florida Gators can't make a bowl game? Do they got a tough schedule? Absolutely. But they're going to find wins, brother. This isn't last year's Billy Napier's team. This is a glimpse of what the future program will look like down there. It's a slow build, but they're going to have some success. And Mike, I think it's going to start with that offensive line and running backs. Yeah, and you're like, well, we don't even know who the offensive line. It doesn't matter. They're all 7 foot tall and 400 pounds. They're going to move the lines, all right? Florida Gators are going to be all right. I think this, like I said, this is a pure gut pick here, Mike. I think they're going to a bowl game. They're not losing 7 games.
Well, you know what is so interesting, Shane, is they've been so disrespected all off season, and I get it. Hell, I voted them 6th in the East, but can we honestly say that their roster is in significantly worse shape than, say, Kentucky, than South Carolina, Missouri, Tennessee? I mean, there's a reason we voted, or at least I voted Florida lower than them. There's reasons for it. But if you get crapped on for 6, 7, 8 months and you have a near same roster, I mean, all it's going to take, Shane, is to upset one or two of those teams I just referenced, and you're way over your 5.5 win total. So I'm right there with you. I haven't got to Florida yet, but I love that pick by you being in the top 4. My number 4, Shane, Texas A&M. And this is a lot to do with the number 7.5.
Yeah.
This is the highest number I have remaining. Yes, I'm not 100% convinced that we won't have a trade wreck again, Shane, because I cannot get out of my head what happened last year. But I'm about 99% sure that ain't happening again. You know what I mean? So I think A&M's in for a big bounce back year. People are tired of hearing it, but they got all the talent in the world. I'm loving what I'm hearing out of College Station. This has got to be a bounce back year. This has got to be a money year for Jimbo. Otherwise, I don't know if he's got a future at Texas A&M. Bare minimum, 8-win season. So this feels like a gimme right here at Texas A&M. So who's your number 3?
Number 3, I got the Kentucky Wildcats, brother. Sitting there at 6.5. What's crazy about Big Blue Nation here is I'm looking at that schedule, and I think they got 5 wins right out of the gate, 5-0. I think there's a real shot here to go 5-0. So now you're saying you can't find 2 more wins on your. That's saying they lose every coin toss game moving forward. And they may lose a couple of those, but they ain't gonna lose them all. So I think this is a pretty safe bet. Put your money on Big Blue here.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk about Kentucky. Shane, give On 3 another reason to write an article about us, but
see if they wreck you again, Mike. All right, after that close death experience, we're bringing back Kentucky fans.
Number 3, I got the Florida Gators, a team you just hit on, Shane. To disrespect the talent that is on that roster, year 2 bump for Billy Napier. We're gonna find out if this guy has what it takes to be a quality coach. And I'm not saying they got to win 9, 10 games year 2 so we don't run him out or anything, but I think this will be the year. We know, Shane, because if they go 5-7 again, or 4-8, I mean, I think he's done. So, but the fact that I got him number 3 here should give you an indication. I don't see that happening. I think they win 4 in the first half, so they just got to win 2 the rest of the way. Give me them Gators, number 3, most confident to go over 5.5. Who's your number 2, Shane?
Texas A&M Aggies, baby. I was 1 year off, Mike. I was 1 year off. Hey, brother, the main thing for me here is the number, 7.5. I kind of like what you referenced. So 5 losses they got to have. I just don't see it, brother. Now, am I skeptical? Of course. A couple of years ago on Christmas Day, I fell down some stairs, Mike, out in the back of the house here. Thought I had, for some reason, thought I had 3 steps, but it ends up I had 4. So I missed that last one. It was a doozy. So I'm not going to lie, Mike. Since that date, I second guess myself going downstairs. I know I can walk downstairs. I know I can, you know what I'm saying? But I still am a little reserved going down because I fell and busted my ass once. So that's kind of like betting on Texas A&M here. I obviously I'd love the over. I think I'd hammer the over. But there's a little devil on me that says, hey, Jimbo ain't changing shit, So there's a part of that, but I think honestly the coaches are saying the right things, the players are saying the right things. They got so much talent on that roster down there. I'm pumped up. I just watched the Johnny Manziel documentary. Texas A&M just wants to be good again, and I think it happens this year, brother. So give me the over big time.
Yeah, and so my number 2, Shane, Vanderbilt. You just referenced them. Come on, bro. I mean, before they get into SEC play, I think they're going to hit the over. Vanderbilt always disrespected. And this is where the true value is in these over-unders, Shane, is when they just throw a number against a brand and what it's been associated with, not having knowledge of what it is. And this is the same thing we said up last year against Vanderbilt when it was like 2.5 or 1.5, whatever the crazy number was. I mean, within the first month, they had hit the over. Yeah. They're going to do it again this year. Give me Vanderbilt number 2. So who is your number 1? And we don't even have to ask you. We know who it is.
Yeah, MIC, baby. Where you at? I mean, I'm completely bought in on these guys. I think the over-under is an absolute joke. Drink. Yeah, did he go off a little tangent the other day about the expansion? Of course he did. But other than that, he's been keeping it to himself because he doesn't want to make this season about him. They're going to make it about the players. They're going to make people regret, saying all this shit in the offseason about how good they won't be, because they will be, brother. Mizzou's going to surprise some folks here. So if you got some money, extra money hanging around, put it on them Mizzou Tigers, baby.
So that means my number 1, Shane, you just referenced some Kentucky Wildcats. Give me them big. This for you, Cousin Ollie. Get out there, win you 9-10 games this year if they can beat Bama. And, some big games this year. But Bama's at home. Tennessee's at home. Come on, brother. I think they can pull an upset here or there. I'm fully on board with the Liam Cohen hype. I'm fully on board with the Devin Leary hype. And to go over, I mean, hell, it's like you said, Shane. I mean, it's the first month, they'll be 4-0 if they can beat Vanderbilt, which should be a given. They own Florida right there. We're at 5-0. Well, they got to win 2 more. I think this is the team that's being slept on more than any other across the SEC, and it's probably because they disappointed last year, but knowing Mark Stoops, knowing that coaching staff, that program, that's just going to fuel them to prove their doubters wrong. This is not a team. Of course, I'm heaping praise on them. Yeah. They don't respond to praise. They respond to negativity, and they're being doubted sometime for some reason in this over-under. I mean, it's crazy. 6.5. That's the biggest joke on this over-under.
Mike, blink twice if you're in danger. pan out. It's Matt Jones over there with a gun to your head. I don't know what's going on.
Hey. You're wearing your big blue for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Hey, man, I think it's a safe bet. A lot of doubters with Kentucky. They look at last season thinking that, hey, they're going back to their old ways. I think they bounce back big time this year. I like that one, Mike.
Yeah. Well, brother, hey, we went a little bit long on this one, but that's all I got. You got anything else before we hop off the line?
No, man, that's it. Had a blast, brother, talking college. I mean, we're here. It's time to put up or shut up. We're getting our last little bets in. It won't be long. We'll be watching actual football, Mike. We're a couple weeks away, but we're getting there.
Yeah. No, these highlights are getting me through my day. I can't wait to watch that Johnny Manziel documentary. I wanted to wait till I actually get to watch it so we can kind of talk about it, but maybe we do a little review on the next episode. But I do appreciate.
I tweeted Billy Lucci, asked him if he's getting royalties. I mean, the man was on it probably more than Johnny was there for a second. I think he was filming the thing,
Well, I appreciate you, brother. As always, I appreciate all the cousins out there. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Go Vols.